they get notified too. So all the
We're live. Hey, Chris.
yeah, yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to another podcast of Don't Get Us Started. We're the podcast that talk about what you all talk about, all the latest news and things that drive us crazy, things you talk about around the kitchen table or at the bar or at the water cooler or with your friends. And so this week, we're going to be
And we always
talking.
say we're not here to say we're right. We're just here to give our views, our thoughts, and
Yeah,
if you'd like to join
I'm probably
in,
never
go ahead.
right. But this week,
No,
with all the things going on,
No, go ahead.
with all the things going on with the school shootings, which is tragic, our hearts go out to, my God, all those parents and those kids and the brothers and sisters and all the people that have been lost and their families. But we want to, tonight's subject is, do we want the teachers? They're talking a lot about teachers, arming themselves in the schools, and some people are for it, some people aren't. And that's basically our subject tonight, and we'll probably talk about other things too. But that's what we're going to start. So
right.
It's all yours. It's all yours. Go for
it. Well, who brought the subject to the forefront the most was Donald Trump, and he's all for arming our teachers. And I'll just start off by saying what he suggested. He invited some students and teachers from Parkland the high school, to the White House last week. And what he said he would like to see is about 10 to 20% of our teachers in this country trained and armed with guns, handguns. He didn't specify what kind. He just said handguns. And he seems to think that if they're trained enough, and that I can't quote him, but he was saying something like, if teachers would have had guns in Parkland, Florida, in the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, that's a long name, high school, if they would have had guns, he said something like, they would have, took that sucker down. And so I thought a lot about it, an awful lot about it. The reasons, because at the very first, I'm like, wow, maybe we do need people, with guns in our school, because our schools are a very soft target. And, these shooters, these people, they know when they go in that school, no one is going to be there to come back at us. They know that. So schools are a very, very soft target. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, no way can we have teachers in our schools. And I would just like to give some of my reasons why I think that. And then maybe, Al, you could, maybe you have the same thoughts or different ones. Maybe people out there listening have some thoughts. But I think, first of all, our teachers are teachers. They went to college to be teachers, and that's enough on their plate right there, And then I went to, well, they would definitely have to go to some serious training, right?
Right.
And as our president brought up, train them. Well, what he didn't bring up is who is going to pay for that training. When you talk about 10 to 20% of the teachers in this country, that's a lot of teachers. That's thousands. So who's going to pay for that training? And, do they have to pay for it? It would have to be a voluntary basis. You can't force teachers to go to this training and have guns. So it all have to be voluntary. So I would assume, because it's voluntary, the teachers are paying for it. Okay. Who's going to pay for the handgun that they have in the school? Who pays for that? you know. So, I know, and you hear some of the teachers that were talking and how they were so brave, and they hid their students in closets or in the corner of the classroom. Okay, so I try to picture, they hear this massive, massive, horrible gun sound go off, and so they get all their students huddled in the corner safely. And now, do they go to their uh, locked cupboard to get their handgun, or is it holstered on their hip? You know, okay, so they already have the terrifying act to try to save their children. Now they have their gun, okay? They have it in their hand, okay? So I pictured, they open the door, not knowing what's out there. One shooter, two shooters, maybe three. Um, they would have to be so lucky enough to be within shooting range, okay, of this shooter, to point their handgun and give him a kill shot. Now, how lucky would you have to be, right? Right, Al? To
Right.
to just walk out of your classroom and there he is, and I aim my gun. Now, he hasn't saw me, right? You would have to assume that he hasn't saw you, because if he does, you're getting killed just like anyone else. Okay, so or are you up behind him? Did you come out of another classroom and now you're lucky enough to be right behind him with all this shooting going on, and you're seeing these innocent young people lying on the floor dead, and he's shooting. Okay, now you keep your composure enough to aim your gun again at this moving target because he's shooting, to get another kill, to get a kill shot.
Well, let me jump in on that, because we were talking about the training and everything else. Police officers, I think they get I don't know, 20 weeks of training, or I'm not sure what police academy is, something like that. But the difference is the mindset.
It's pretty extensive, I would imagine.
The mindset is a police officer. He's there to protect the public. He's there to enforce the law. He's there to get the bad guy. When he puts on that badge and goes out in his car or walks the beat, that is his mindset. That's what he does for a living. Mr. Smith or Mrs. Smith, the history teacher, she's there to teach a class. And all of a sudden, this gunman comes into school and start shooting, and they have to switch over their mindset from, I'm a history teacher, right, to now I'm in law enforcement, or I don't know what you would call it, but now I have to take all this training, right, when I'm in a panic and scared, and my first thing is protect my students. The cops and sheriffs and the detectives, that is what they do all day long. That is their mindset all day long. And they are continually trained, They are. So, and not only that, you can be trained with a handgun. You can learn to shoot and hit your target. You can be one of the best shooters there is. But are they going to be trained for situations like police officers are and sheriffs are? Are they being trained for certain situations and hostage situations, and how to, deal with where to go and which angle to come at, and all of these types of things? And I don't know. I personally, I don't want to think of my kid being in a school where, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are walking around with a holstered gun on them. And let me say this, and I'll let you finish, what you're talking about. You have these mostly young kids, and most of them, this incident was a little different, where this kid had been expelled and came back to school. But so many of these schools is, you've got a kid in school bringing a gun to school. Okay. So you have these kids that are angry, they have mental problems, and they want to go in there and shoot up classmates. Now you got all these teachers, because you know what? Like you said, you can't sit there and have that in a lockbox somewhere, because when that happens, oh, wait a minute, hold on, shooter, I got to get my key and get it out of the lockbox. So about the only way to do it would have it to be holstered to you, Okay, now you've got some high school kid, have it to be a good-sized kid. He's angry, and he starts planning a way to walk up and talk to the teacher and grab his gun. Now you've got that many more guns in the school. What's to say some high school kid isn't going to be more powerful than the teacher to take that gun from the teacher? When I was in, and I don't mind giving my age, but over 40 years ago, when I was in intermediate school, in 8th grade, we had a kid, he was angry. He was an angry kid, and he was big for his size. Probably in 8th grade, he was probably 6 foot. He comes walking in there. He got suspended or something. He comes walking in and holds the assistant principal with a 12-gauge shotgun. Didn't hurt anybody, but held him like hostage for a few hours. I mean, you got kids that are, really angry and have obviously, mental problems or want them to kill people. And so now you're going to now you're going to have their teachers having guns on them. I'm going to walk up to Mr. Smith and talk to him, and I'm going to suddenly push him down, grab his gun, and shoot the kids in the class. That's just my.
Well,
that's pretty much my opinion.
That's exactly what Edward Shelby said. What's the chance of a kid getting a hold of a student getting holding a gun? Well, the president says we wouldn't tell the students what teachers had the gun. I'm having some difficulty hearing. Jeff Burham says more likely. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, said a student getting shot. Right. That was another thing I thought of. You have your teacher, you have your gun aimed at the shooter. Okay. Again, you've never done this before. This is the first time you're shooting at a human being with all the other stuff going on. You have to aim that gun at that shooter. What if it goes right past the shooter, and God forbid now you have killed a student? You have killed a student. Okay. I mean, how do we explain that to the parents? Okay. And one very important thing that I think, is, they're talking a lot about a trained police officer that was outside of the Parkland High School, right? And he didn't go in. Now, stories are changing on that, but he did resign. But he was to the best of my knowledge, a police officer, and he didn't go in the school. And that's another thing. Whether you're military, whether you're a police officer, until that first time that you have to aim that gun at another person to kill them. Not everybody has the mentality for that. They just don't. They may think they do. They may be well trained in how to shoot that gun. But until that first time comes, what if it's just not you and you freeze up? You panic. Now you're going to get shot. Other students are going to get shot. You could shoot other students, and it becomes just a big chaotic mess in that school. You cannot put teachers in that position. There's everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And I would like the other thing, when they sent in, the police. Well, they don't send in just the police. The first ones in that door on that floor is SWAT team. The only thing SWAT team is looking for is who has that gun so we can take them down, right? Before one more shot goes off. Now, maybe the shooter, like this one did, he already dropped his weapon and he was ready to get in line with the other students. That's how he made it out the door. Okay, so he don't have a gun. Now you're standing there with a gun. And they don't have time to ask you anything. They're there to save another life. And now the SWAT team kills the teacher because they're holding the gun.
Well,
There's no time to talk. There's
right.
no time for explaining.
All right. Well, let me comment a
Right?
couple times because we're getting a lot of stuff on the chat.
I know. I'm sorry.
So Momo says a shooter is not coming into where they know they are already armed. And Edward Shelby, which I agree with, says students will find out you do. Remember being in school? Kids are devious. They will find it, bet within the first month. Of course they are. They're going to know. Those kids are going to end up knowing what teachers have the guns.
I agree.
Okay, is he going to hide it in the desk? Is he going to strap it on his side? I mean, all these things we don't know. If he hides it in the desk, believe me, kids are going to know eventually what teachers are armed.
Well, and Edward Shelby also makes at the end of his, he says, all kids will think is, wow, cool, I could get my own gun. Because if the teacher has one, why can't I bring one? Right? Now you have that problem. So I totally agree. Go ahead.
And Momo makes a point saying, so now all kids are killers because they have access to a gun, or you're assuming that the shooter even started shooting. No. But if they do start shooting, and in a certain case, if a kid all of a sudden, pulls out a gun and hasn't shot, then maybe they have a little bit more. Or is that teacher? Kid pulls out a gun. Sees that kid pull out a gun, reaches in a drawer, grabs his gun. Is he going to shoot and kill that student? He's standing, I mean, there's so many variables that can happen. You're in a school with thousands of kids. We've got a school in my area. It's got 8,000 kids.
Right, more than twice as much as the Parkland School District had. Yeah, the school.
If a kid pulls one out in a classroom, that can be a whole different thing, as opposed to a kid, walking into a lunchroom or walking down the hallway, like they did in Columbine, and there's just so many variables. I think that with this person. Yeah, he came from the outside. He walked into the school. Okay. Most of these things have been where kids are in school and they come to school with a gun. And I know I even talked to a customer of mine that is a county supervisor. And she was telling me that, yeah, a lot of the high schools in my area now, they've got front doors that are locked. They have to be buzzed in. A lot of them the high schools have a police officer. I know someone whose son is a police officer in one of the local schools.
But this school had a police officer. Yeah.
And I think that I think one of the things is we're going to have to really start finding a way to prevent this gun from entering the school, through metal detectors, through outside surveillance. Through inside surveillance, but outside surveillance and metal detectors coming into the schools.
Right. Well, we'll get, that's other solutions. Yeah, we got to talk about that. But I just want to comment, Chris Johnson, it's a great idea. He's saying, let's give the teachers a bright yellow badge, so they can pull it out, I guess, to the SWAT team. But again, Chris, you're having this shooter is shooting. There are dead bodies on the floor, the heads blown off, half their body blown off. Other kids, from other classrooms, screaming, coming out to see what's going on. Now, there's just total chaos on this third floor where this happened. Will there be time, for the SWAT team? And maybe they will. But, the SWAT team now, they have to change up their job to look for the bright yellow badge. Who has the bright? Now, are two teachers out there shooting? 3? I got to look for 3 yellow badges. I'm just saying, it's a good concept, but if you just try to picture the horrible, horrible chaos that's going on when
I think
when this is happening.
I think it still comes down to the mind.
And then Edward Shelby said, how many great intelligent kids we got out there that could forge this badge. So now they wear one in, the shooter wears a badge in that looks like what the teachers have. So now the SWAT team sees their yellow badge, they're okay, and they're actually the shooter. So he made a very good point too. Go ahead.
Well, I think it still comes down to the mindset when you're talking about all the confusion and everything. These teachers have to switch over from I'm a teacher to now, I'm an armed marksman and I know everything to do here. A lot of these people, this is not what they're not going into school every day with the possibility that they're going to have to go into this like a police officer does or like a sheriff does. A sheriff or police officer, they put that badge on, they have that mindset for the day. That is what they're trained to do on a daily basis. They have training where they're put in situations, and a situation like this, and how do they going to react? They have targets to shoot at. How much training are you going to give these people? And how much ongoing training? You can't just say, oh, this is how you fire a gun. This is how you shoot. Okay, you're a good shooter. But how much more training, situations, and things like that? And I still say it comes down to this is not something that you're going to walk in every day. You're not going to walk in every day saying, this is my job as a teacher and possibly to take down a shooter. I just don't see somebody that can switch over from that if they're not doing that and not being trained and getting out in their car, getting out in their detective's car, or whatever, their sheriff's car, and doing it on a daily basis. I just don't see that. I mean, come on, we got a deputy sheriff at the school that just froze, basically. He froze. He just stayed outside. He never went in. What is their job when there's a shooter is to go inside where the shots are being fired. That is his job. And as that one student said, this man had a gun, he had a bulletproof vest on, and these two teachers died trying to protect their kids. This guy stayed outside.
Right.
So exactly. Are these teachers that you're going to train, are they going to just all of a sudden go into this mindset and not panic?
Teachers will not have, they just simply will not have the gun power that these shooters are walking in those schools with. They don't have it. And anyway, Momo says, I still agree with the fact that someone will think twice before walking into a school if they know somebody is in there and trained, armed and ready to defend the school. In some cases, Momo, you will, I'm sure. Okay, but you have to think you have a deranged, evil, if they're going to think that, why didn't this shooter in Parkland think, wait a minute, if I go in there and I shoot a bunch of students to death, everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to walk out the school, and they're not going to get me. I mean, deranged / evil minds don't think ahead. Otherwise, I think they would go in the first place. So they're not thinking ahead that far to say, oh, there's shooters in there. They don't care. That man was probably a young man, as most of them are prepared to die. Look at the Vegas shooter. He knew he wasn't getting out of that hotel. He was prepared to die. Well, he shot himself. That's how prepared he was. So a lot of these shooters are prepared to die. They shoot themselves. Many times the shooter has shot himself. So I guess what I'm saying to Momo is, if we had a rational thinker in the first place, they wouldn't go into school. So we don't have the rational thinkers that are going up in these schools to kill these innocent students. They're angry. They're full of hate. They're full of anger, evil. And all they want to do is kill. And so what I would say, Momo, to that answer too, is you have a deranged person walking in there, and you know what they think? Bring out the guns. Go ahead, bring out your guns. I'll shoot you too. Go ahead, aim that gun at me.
It's hard to say what every mindset is. I don't.
Well, come on, they're not rational thinkers.
No, they're not rationally thinking, because I've never understood. This is not have to do with. I have never understood the whole mindset of whether it be a workplace, whether it be a school. I can't even understand. Never. I'm not saying I can do it. I could even understand where somebody gets fired from a job, or some kid gets expelled from a school, and they go back to that job after the person that fired him, or that student goes back into school after that principal, whatever. I never have understood the whole mindset is I get fired from my job. I'm just going to go in and start randomly killing everybody that at the place where I used to work. Or some kids bullied me in school. So now I'm just going to take out any students that are, within my sight. So I can't even get into that mindset. We don't know what that mindset is.
No, we can't. But I'm saying, Momo says, well, he just now said too. So even if they still go in, how many lives could be saved if someone was already there to take out the threat? Well, I think what I just went through is I don't think you're going to have any lives saved. You're going to have possibly more lives.
Because I don't know.
That scenario happens that we just talked about. You miss and you kill a student instead of the killer.
Yeah, that teacher, all of a sudden, this is going on. This is not something I do on a daily basis. This is not my mindset. And now they see the shooter. How good of a shot are they? And now they shoot a student.
Well, yeah, because in order to think that these teachers that are armed with handguns are there, they could save lives. You would have to say, we give this the perfect scenario. Oh, that they can sneak up on the guy behind them and get that kill shot. Or they can just get that perfect aim from 35 feet down the hallway where they come out of their rooms and get that perfect kill shot. Oh yeah, if we could guarantee that, then it would save lives. But on the things we just discussed, on the chance that you're not going to have that perfect scenario and one extra life is lost, we can't have it. And, you have to picture this shooter, this deranged shooter. He spots you 35 feet down the hallway where you just come out of your room. Okay. Yeah, it takes some killing off the kids. Now he shoots you with his high-powered assault weapon that's made for war. His high-powered assault weapon to your handgun. Now he shot you, and he just aims that gun back and continues shooting the students.
You can also pull off anywhere from 30 to 100 rounds, as opposed to your 9mm that'll pull off maybe 12 to 15 rounds.
Right. We're not going to have a perfect scenario. We have unbelievable chaos in these schools. You have students running around, screaming, running for their lives, watching their classmates, drop to the ground with their head blown off. And in some cases, the heads were literally blown off. So you don't have this perfect scenario. You have chaos.
So what is the solution? I think that
well, there's not one solution.
No, but I think that we also have to look at how do we stop these guns from getting through into the school. And, you and I had talked about this, a little bit. And, of course, I think everybody...
Well, Edward Shelby said, what happens if a student gets killed in crossfire? Who's responsible? Oh, there you go. That's a perfect scenario, because I don't guarantee you, but it's so likely for a teacher to accidentally kill a student. Who is responsible? That poor teacher now has to live with him or herself that killed a student? Is the school system responsible? Who is responsible?
Oh, yeah. Well, the school system would be responsible, and here comes lawsuit after lawsuit. Because now your teacher just, shot my child. If that was my child and the teacher shot him, I'd be suing.
Well, Chris Johnson said, what if a cop shoots a student in crossfire? But unfortunately, those things happen, just like if there's a pursuit, a road pursuit, after a criminal and it causes a wreck and there's people killed. It's very unfortunate, but we can't get rid of our police officers. We just can't. And not only that, they don't send in a shooting situation of this sort. They send in their highly trained SWAT that that can shoot that gun precise.
Yeah,
so much less likely for SWAT to kill a student than it is for a teacher that's shooting.
It just still comes down to me is like, I don't think that you can be a teacher and have enough ongoing training that you walk into that you're walking, 99% or 100% of the teachers every day This is what they do. They go in to teach. They go in to counsel kids. They go into, be the coach and things like that. They're not.
The teachers of these shootings are as traumatized as.
Exactly. I've never been. I could be a teacher. I could learn to shoot a gun really well. When I was young, I used to shoot guns, and my father, who had a lot of guns in the house, loaded, ready to go when anybody walked in. I grew up like that. We used to go out and target practice, and he told me I was a very good shot, and I could be trained to, hit the bullseye. But you know what? If some shooter comes in the school, and my primary job is I'm a teacher. I care about these kids.
Well, not only that.
I spent the whole evening last night preparing, and now this shooter comes to the school. I've got to turn that whole mindset into, now I'm an enforcer. I can't, and I'm scared to death.
Not a murderer.
I've never been in that situation. Right. I've never been in that situation.
Well, how about this scenario? You have your trained teacher, and they got the gun aimed where they think they're going to do the kill shot. And then right next to the shooter, they see, Billy get his head blown off right in front of them. Or they see another teacher, which, 3 teachers did lose their lives. So they see now their colleague, their friend, and now they see this other teacher drop, and they're dead. Now they are supposed to have the mindset to shoot and kill this shooter, when they just saw one of their students and one of their other colleagues fall to the ground. I mean, now you want them to keep their composure. It's just not. It's not.
Edward Shelby says, "I don't know what people expect of these teachers. Some kind of Marine, exactly." And Chris Johnson says, "Train National Guard reserves to be placed in all the school." And that's not
I'm all for that. Well, I'm all for that.
Or how about, how about the schools? This is going to cost some money. We're talking about
ex-military. How about ex-military? How about retired police officers?
We're talking about our kids here, and it's going to cost some money. How about hiring retired police officers?
Yeah, that's what I said.
A lot of police officers they retire at 40, 50 years old, some of them. Why not, a lot of these retired police officers work doing other things.
Yeah, now you post outside your schools. This school is protected by, military. Because if you're ex-military, you're military. If you're ex-police officer, you're a police officer. This school is protected by police. This school is protected by military. There you go. Now you're not a soft target. Now it isn't laughable, and all due respect to teachers, I don't mean this, but it's not laughable for these deranged minds to think, I remember Mrs. Smith. I remember, Mr. Johnson. I remember, they were my math teacher. They got a gun. Oh, watch me kill them first. That's the mindset they have.
Okay,
but if you have ex-military, retired police, they're not going to think that.
Okay, Court Wright says, "I had access to guns as a kid, and my father turned me into a lethal weapon. I don't get scared when I see people die, and I'm a teacher." Well, that's great. That's great that that you don't get.
Yeah, but are we going to have someone like you, or these teachers? And I'm sure that 20% of all of our teachers, we will have people that can hold all together and shoot. But what about the ones that don't? And now unnecessary lives have been taken.
Trained police officers that have been in shooting scenes that have mental breakdowns of what they've seen. You have rescue workers. I knew one who was at 9/11 in the Pentagon, who has never been right, has just gone into depression since then because of what he has seen.
Exactly.
And these are trained people. This is what they train to do.
If you have retired or ex-military, they're not going to see their students fall to the ground. They're not going to see another teacher fall to the ground because they don't know these people, and they are trained just to be on that shooter. Where Mrs. Reynolds, your math teacher, now she sees students falling to the ground. Is she going to keep her composure enough to try to kill this person?
There may be, as Court said,
or personal. It could be two people in there shooting.
As Cartwright said, like himself. Okay, that's good that you're trained, and you're a teacher, and you're not, scared if you see somebody die, or maybe the bullets start flying, and you have a mindset to,
right.
But that, I don't think that's gonna be too many teachers.
That's what I said. Out of 20%, how many are going to be like them? Right. Yeah, there will be some that could, keep it together and do what they're supposed to do. But how many?
Right.
I try to picture, and I shouldn't even say this, but there are some very strong, great women out there in the military, the police force. Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to picture, again, Mrs. Smith, your math teacher. And she thinks she can do it, and she had the training. But, she's just a mom. She's just a teacher that thought she could do it. Can she hold it together? Well,
it comes down again to, I wonder what would be the plan to, you've got, I don't know how many teachers you have in an average high school, and 20% of those have guns. And like we talked about before,
that was the president's.
Oh, okay. I'm just going by what.
No, I know. I'm just saying that's why I got the 20%.
And so now, you've got like we talked about before. There are kids in there. They know there are guns in that school, and I don't have to get one from home because I know Mr. Smith has one in that classroom somewhere. I mean, like we talked about, kids can be devious, and if you're angry and a mental kid, and you're not going to be able to lock that gun up because the situation comes, you're not going to have time to get that gun out of a lockbox or whatever. And so now you've got 20 guns in the school that some kid could get a hold of.
Well, how about this? I just thought of this. How about you have, I don't throw names out there, but Billy and Frankie. And they get together, and they want to be one of those people that go in and shoot a school. But you know what? We can't get a hold of guns, okay? And the NRA would love this in a way. I get. No, not really. But anyway, so now they bring a big knife into school, and they grab one of the female students, and they put the knife to her throat, and they're like, okay, Mr. Evans, unlock your gun right now, or I slice her throat. Does Mr. Evans go and get that gun that he has locked up, or does he chance that student getting her throat slit? You know what I mean? So now the people that want to hurt other people, they know that Mr. Evans has a gun hidden in that classroom somewhere. I can get it if I put it. I mean, come on. We had on 9/11, there was box cutters held to people's throats. So what's to say that one of these deranged students couldn't just bring a knife to school, hold to someone's throat, and say, open up the gun cabinet. Now he has
how would they know? How would they know? You're in high school. Kids are gonna know. They're gonna learn. They're gonna learn. It's not. They're gonna know. I just know kids, and I know when I was in high school, you find out everything about teachers. I knew stuff about some of the teachers that, their faculty didn't know.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. I just think that we need to figure out a way to totally.
Well, wait a minute. These are coming up so fast. I
know. It's a big subject. People are angry.
But wait a minute. Yeah, that's what I say. Everybody has thoughts on it. And again, there's no one solution. No. I mean, you could say that you and I are totally could work out like the president wants. But our thoughts is that it wouldn't. But Chris Johnson said it would not be hidden in the classroom. Laughing my butt off. Okay, where would it be hidden, Chris? Where you'd have to have? Where do you have it if it's not in the classroom? Is it on the teacher's hip with a holster? I mean,
and then that's what I talked about some deranged student walking in there, knocking his teacher over and grabbing his gun.
Jeff Burnham said, go to a restaurant, gas station, anywhere really. The students were patriots. You don't know where patriots are armed. Well, see, that unfortunately, you can't protect the gas stations, the movie theaters, the malls. And we're just talking about our students, that our children that have to go to school. You know, how many years has it been since Sandy Hook, when little first graders were blown apart?
Yeah, well, something has to be done, because every time we hear this, I thought surely after Las Vegas, where, 54, 59 people were killed and 500 and something wounded, and then we start hearing about bump stocks. I'd never even heard the term bump stocks before, because I'm not a gun collector, or I'm not, and I'm all for, let me say this. Like I said, I grew up in a household. My dad had loaded guns in the house. I used to do target practice. I'm all for people being able to own guns, shoot guns, protect their home, go out and recreational and do target practice. I'm all
right.
for
well, we're
that.
not saying we're not. But, I don't think anyone, politicians, anyone are against the Second Amendment.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment.
When you have this whole thing of the guy in Las Vegas who had bump stocks shooting 400 to 600 rounds, he basically turns your legal semi-automatic weapon into a illegal automatic weapon, which shoots 400 to 600 rounds a minute.
Right.
You would have thought then. That these bump stocks.
Well, there was a lot of talk about
would have been banned right
but
then.
But you have the NRA that will not even say, let's get rid of bump stocks. And I want to say this. Momo says, we're not talking about 70-year-old teachers. Anyone willing to do this is not going to be someone you can just steal the gun from. Really, Momo? I'm just saying, they could be 25, 5 foot tall, 100 pounds. Yes, you can steal the gun.
We're also going to train them.
Yes.
We're also going to train them in self-defense too. Are they going to have to take self-defense classes too? We're going to train them.
Yeah, because you have little Miss whoever, like I said, that's 5 foot tall, 100 pounds. She could be 25 years old. She could definitely be overpowered.
Okay,
and if you're wearing them on your holster.
Momo says I have the gun and they don't.
Well, not.
Yes, they do. In fact, they got an AR-15.
If you go back to the scenario of the student that wants to kill in that school, all he has to do is get a knife, hold it to a student's throat, and say, okay, take that gun off your holster, or I'm slicing your throat. What do you do then? What do you do then? Wait a minute. Chris Johnson said, I have a daughter. I would feel a lot better knowing somebody, whether a teacher or a police officer, was armed inside the school instead of a student walking into a gun-free zone. And you know what, Chris? I have a first grade granddaughter, and my kids are grown, but I think about her and I think, oh my God, when I first thought about this, I thought, would I want that too? The teacher's armed to make these schools not a soft target. Enough is enough. But I think there's so many other solutions that I hope we get to talk about. There's so many other solutions that can be done that not our teachers carrying guns. Cops, retired cops, like we said, ex-military. There are Navy SEALs out there. Trained Navy SEALs and everybody. Okay, I can't think of them all.
And like I said, if you have somebody who was a former police officer who is now a teacher, okay, maybe, or something like that. But you're talking about taking the teachers that are there, and okay, let's take a high school. How many teachers in that high school are former police officers? Probably very few. Probably maybe none in that particular high school.
Right.
But we have to get.
Another thing, again, you have the shooting on this school took place on the 3rd floor of that school. Okay, so you have to have the place on the 3rd floor. The trained teachers on the 1st floor, 2nd floor, 3rd floor. Now, do they leave the 1st and 2nd floor to come up to the 3rd floor? So now I have the teachers kind of like everywhere, because the shooter's on the 3rd floor. There's chaos. Or what, God forbid, if there's 2 shooters. Now you leave the 2nd floor unattended, to go what you think is on the third floor. And I know I'm making this complicated, but these are just all the things that can happen when there's so many other things that we can put in place. We can protect our schools. We can
have every scenario that sometimes police officers can't do. But the thing is that why can't we hire more police officers? You're going to have to pay, or you're not going to pay the teachers more? Of course you are. Why can't we hire already trained police officers, already trained, like you said, retired National Guard or current National Guard? Why can't we already put those in the school? Why do we have to we've got this many teachers in the school and we're going to train some of these people. You have people out there that are already trained that can be placed in the school.
Right. And no school in this country should be a soft target. You should not. There was a school where in a town I lived in a few years ago, and you walked, well, first of all the doors, the exit doors to the school were made out of this real thick metal. You weren't getting in that no matter what. The only door you could get in during the day, you walked in, and there was an area, something like you would go into a Walmart, between the two doors, there's like an area where the carts are. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, the school had this area. And the secretary of the school was behind bulletproof glass. You had to talk to it through a little microphone thing. You were not getting past those second doors unless they let you in. Right. So, that was a newer school, but I mean, we got to make the schools less of a soft target that way, where someone cannot just walk into a school with a gun.
Okay, Momo says if you don't arm someone in the school, at least you have a fighting chance. Why do you need to arm someone who works as a teacher? That is their job.
Yeah, we're not saying don't have. I'm not saying
don't have someone in the school. The high school near me, they have a couple police officers that work that school. That is their job all day long.
Right.
Like I said, I know one of them who, I don't know the police officer, but I know his father, and his son works in the school all day long. And this is a bad high school where I live, and they've had a couple police officers in that school, I think, for quite a long time. They never had a shooting in that school. And you have a couple police cars parked outside of that building. You know how many times, I know the police officers where I live, sometimes they'll park a car on a street, on the side of a main road, and people see that. There's nobody in that police car. There's not a police officer around. They automatically slow down. They have police officers that'll park a car outside a department store. That police officer isn't even there because it's a warrant. They see a police officer. I'm not going in there to steal.
Well, I mean, in some of the stores, you have a lot of the Walmarts. They have a cop standing there. He's just standing there, his hands kind of in his pockets a little bit. But you know what he does? He's intimidating to the thieves that want to go in Walmart and walk out the door or something. It's intimidation. Not that he wouldn't pull his gun if he had to. But there's nothing wrong with having cops or ex-military. Okay, that's a start. We're just saying not the teachers. And then you have to make other ways for these schools to not be soft targets anymore.
So Chris Johnson says, so the argument of student taking over a teacher for their gun doesn't apply to a cop inside school? Well, it can, but my point is you have a student there who's angry at the world.
Well, try to take over. Try to have a police officer pull you over, in your car. Get out of the car and try to take that police officer over.
Well, my thing was
it's not easy.
My thing was, I'll give you this scenario. You have a student who is angry in the school. Maybe he's angry at that teacher. Maybe he hates his teacher too. And he has, his teacher says, I want to have a word with you after class, and, he takes over. Not only that, the police officers are also very trained in self-defense too. This is what I'm saying. You're going to put all this money into training the teachers. You're going to training them for.
Yeah, you couldn't have a student stay after class because. And then what?
Why not? Why not just pay for more? Train people outside the school to be in the school. Why does it have to be the teachers? Why can't we place more security in the schools? Highly trained, officers, sheriff, things like that. Why do we have to put guns on the teachers? That's
On the
not their
teachers.
job
That's the
in the
only thing I'm
school.
against. I'm not against guns in school, but put them in hands that aren't going to freeze up, when they go to shoot someone, that aren't going to be affected, seriously, if they see a student fall, because it's their job. They've seen that. They've dealt with it. And that's not going to deter them from, no, I'm not against guns in schools. I'm against teachers with guns in schools. There's so much that can go wrong. And if one child loses their life because a teacher shot them, then we'll have this whole argument over again.
I don't know what the answer is, actually. I mean,
I
don't really know what
start off with this. No, and I hope we can talk about this. We start off with, why did a 18-year-old, because he bought the gun at 18, why was this 18-year-old able to walk into a gun store and buy an assault weapon with all the ammunition he needed? Why was he able to do that?
Because it's
he should
legal.
not have been able to do it because it's legal. We don't need assault weapons that were made for war, And so you have the NRA. They don't even want to go there. They don't even want to. Why would anybody want to say these assault weapons are okay? Why? We're not taking away your right to have a gun. We're not taking away your right to protect your home, to protect your family, to target practice. Nobody, I have not heard one politician ever say that. And it's brought up a lot with Trump. Oh, if Democrats make it, they're going to take away your Second Amendment right. And you got idiots that believe that. No one is going to take away the Second Amendment. Nobody.
Okay. The AR-15. Why do we need weapons for?
Well, the weapons of mass destruction. Why do we need them?
Why do we need a weapon?
Sigh at me. I heard that sigh.
Why do we need weapons that to protect your home, for target practice, that will hold 30 to 100 rounds in? Because you know what? If you're going to use an AR-15, which is, I might add, one of the most popular guns sold right now, but you're going to say, well, I'm going to protect my family. You know what? If you got to shoot 30 to 60 times before you take out your target,
well, yeah,
you need a hell of a lot more training.
Yeah, if you need that many rounds,
we don't need guns that have. If we lived in a perfect society, that would be great. But look what's going on. So it's shown that that these are the guns that in this last shooting and Las Vegas shooting, these are the guns of their choice. In Sandy Hook, because they can pull off boom, 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 30 rounds. I don't see the point. When I was a kid, I used to target practice with a 22. I used to target practice with a 410 shotgun, a 38 caliber. I was happy with that. I could, shoot a few rounds and load it back up again. But if somebody, believe me, if you want a weapon in your house to protect you, get a frickin' shotgun. All you got to do is aim in the basic direction. My dad used to have a 12-gauge shotgun loaded in the bedroom closet and the front closet. Aim it in the general direction, you're taking them out. If you got to shoot a gun 30 times before you take somebody down, you don't have any business owning a gun, because who knows what you'll hit with it. The AR-15 will go 3,000 feet per second. Will probably take out your neighbor in a neighbor's house if you miss. You don't need it.
Right, and I can say some of these are going really fast. Jeff Burnham, he says you put an armed cop or outsider in a school, and the first one an active shooter is going to take out is the one with the gun, or is the guy with the gun. Not only the active shooter is going to take him out, that's who SWAT is taking out too, the person with the gun.
Right. Which Chris Johnson says that the biggest shooting used a bump stock, right? And we talked about that, and I said, right.
Yeah, why do we need bump stock?
Now they're talking about banning it. There was a, why did we need those? Why did we need those to begin with? Who made that frickin' legal?
Right.
To take a legal weapon and turn it basically into
a
illegal weapon.
Since this situation happened, this last shooting, the NRA is always like, you're not taking up. They don't even want to make the bump stocks illegal. The NRA. Are you serious? I mean, don't these people have families, children? Why? There's one reason for a bump stock. One reason.
To make it a
now, is anyone going to say?
It's a mass killing machine.
To make it a bigger.
As I heard someone who was formerly served in Iraq. He said, the AR-15, I believe, was designed after the M16, which was designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible, which basically, turns it into like a machine gun.
Oh, but you have your gun activists to say, I need my AR-15 for target practice. Really? Because
well, you know what?
You're going to blow up that target the first time, aren't you?
No. But what you and I were talking about it before. I do understand people who are passionate about guns, collect guns, love to target practice.
Yeah.
I understand that. I understand about having a gun, the newest gun that has a lot of power behind it. I do understand that. But my point is now we are living in a society where these things are happening. And maybe we need to take a second look at, most gun owners, very responsible people. 99.9% of them are. But when you have a gun out there and you have mentally unstable people, because it does this or it does that, now we're looking at it saying, maybe we shouldn't have something like this out there. If you're a gun enthusiast, and that's great, are you, if you can have something like AR-15, which is a very powerful weapon, is it going to ruin your day? I mean, can you not do target practice with your 38 or your 9mm or your shotgun?
Right.
I realize, and it says Chris Johnson said, that one of the guns in the Columbine was a shotgun, and I'm not saying we can't stop kids from a lot of these guns come to school. It might be a handgun or whatever, but it's one more gun out there that is so powerful and holds so many rounds.
Not needed for anything else.
Why do we need a gun? Somebody tell me why we need. Somebody tell me why we need a gun that you can buy a clip for it that holds 60 rounds. I mean, are you too tired?
Well, Momo says the deer might run after. I'm sure he's being silly, but
Ward Dog says some gun stores don't do a background check. Oh, that's great.
Well, that's right. And that's or if you go to a gun show, I think they do them. But that's another, because number one, even if you outlawed tomorrow these say AR-15, they were illegal as of tomorrow. There's still millions of them out there. Okay, so you're never going to get rid of guns completely, right? So I
don't think we want to get rid of guns.
No, I'm saying these guns.
Oh.
Okay, but we have the HEPA protects our privacy, when we go to the doctors and the hospital. And so if you have a deranged person that goes to their doctor or the psychiatrist and, says, I want to shoot up a school and I'm not going to be happy till I do, that psychiatrist is not allowed to report you. Okay. So let's change that law. Let's keep our privacy with our doctors, but let's change that law right there. When you report that to any kind of medical facility or doctor, that goes into a database, okay? That doesn't mean that you and I could find out or your friends can find out. Just the police, the FBI, it all goes into a database, okay? This guy said this, he has this on social media. Everything's in this one big database. So now when you go walk in to buy a gun at any age, I don't care if you're 50, 60, or 20. No, you can't buy that gun because you're in that database as having a mental problem. You're not buying a gun. Okay, can you go somewhere else and buy it off of your buddy down the road that knows somebody? Yes. But if we just take some of those off the street where you can't go and buy a gun if you have any kind of mental problem, that's somewhere to start. Let's make longer wait periods for buying a gun. Okay, I don't even know what the wait period is now. I think different states vary, but let's make it even longer. Okay, you can't wait to go shoot a deer a little bit longer or target practice a little bit longer. Yes, you can. And if you're going to go shoot some person, maybe that extra wait time may diffuse you a little bit. It's not going to take care of every problem, but it's all these on top of each other. Another thing, when I went to grade school, the school I went to was actually very old, new, but some of my classes were on the third floor and the second floor. Those second and third floors had their own exit. You went out the door, down the stairs. That's how we got released from school. Maybe we could do that for the second and the schools that have second and third floors. Make a door that has steps where you can just go down those steps to get out. So you're not trapped in these classrooms. Yeah, you would have to put a lot of doors in, wouldn't you? Steps. But we can find the money to do that. I don't know why this school I went to, because like I said, it was old when I went there. And yeah, we went out, we left the school down the steps out of that classroom. We didn't go down the hallway. We were just released out that classroom.
I think we have to look. I think that we have to look at too. I mean, the whole point, the chat is the most, busy we've ever had it since we started the podcast, because people are passionate about this. People are angry about the loss of lives, but people who want to own guns are passionate about that. I support that and everything else.
We support it.
But we have to keep the conversation going, because we can't just stop it after Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after Las Vegas. These students, these students are, great. These ones that, they're keeping this going.
Right.
And it's going to be the people that are going to change these laws. It's not going to be a bunch of people that, like, I heard a guy today on TV said, legislators, they just don't go in there and change things. It's not without people being passionate and, really changing the laws.
Right. Because people are who show up at the voting. And so when lawmakers think you're going to vote them out, like a lot of these students are threatening to do, I'll vote you out in November. I'll vote you out in 2020. That's what the power is in the people. Absolutely. And you know what else? It isn't just one thing. There's no one solution. There's no one solution. It can't all happen overnight, but a lot of it can happen.
And it's not just about arming the teachers. It's not about mental health. It's not just about securing the school. It has to be about all of those things. But what I started to say, and I lost my train of thought, but what I started to say earlier was, why is this happening more often? Now we're like, oh, another school shooting. Why? I don't remember when I was growing up this happening. I had a friend, my best friend, that was shot at 14, by a neighbor with a gun, for no reason, and go into that. I had a guy in my school, like I said, who came to the school with a shotgun, not to shoot up students, but he wanted to point at the assistant principal. But I don't remember having this. Why is this increasing? We also have to look at that.
There's always been people killed. I had a brother, 40 plus years ago. My brother was murdered. He was shot in the back with a gun. So there were shootings, but murder, but there was not school shooting.
Yeah, but we keep saying, another school shooting, another one. What's going on that this keeps happening?
Well, like one parent stood up when Trump had, invited people to the White House to talk about. He stood up and he goes, he lost a child, in the Florida shooting, and he's like, when 9/11 happened, we fixed it, and we pretty much did. A lot of people don't like, having to go through all the checkpoints, and searches at airports, and I understand that, but we haven't had any more like that, have we? We fixed it. We did something and we fixed it.
Well, and there again, they can, people can hurt other people in many ways. Now they go from that to driving a truck, but we have to find, like I said, it's important to keep the conversation going. Everybody has their thoughts.
Well, and we can't protect everything out there.
No, we can't. No, we can't live in a bubble.
But we can't. We have to start protecting our schools. People should not go to school. Parents should not send their kids to school and have them killed. No, and so we do have to protect our schools.
If I had a kid in school now, I'd be scared. If I knew there was 20 teachers in that school that had guns on them, I don't know if I'd be less scared, because there's just too much stuff like that going on anymore, where these people come in there with, whatever, and just start shooting. I would be scared to death having a kid in the school, but I would feel better if I knew if I would feel better if I knew that school was really secured.
Right. And we have to start there. And I missed this. Chris Johnson, he goes, hey, not to get off topic, but if we are talking about banning guns because people use them in school shootings, the argument of banning pressure cookers and box cutters should come into play. Well, we did ban box cutters from any plane, and the pressure cookers. You're talking about the Boston, marathon. No, that's what I say. We can't even start to protect.
No, you can't. Yeah, you've got knives. I mean.
Yeah, we can't protect
pencil through their head,
driving a truck down a street and killing people, or how many times someone has jumped out with a knife and terrorist and killed several people. But we can't even start that because we can't protect those. Unfortunately, we can't protect them.
Like I said,
we have to protect our schools.
You can pick up a school. Go ahead.
No, I said with banning a gun like the AR-15. All we're saying is, yeah, someone could go in and use a rifle. Someone could go and use a powerful handgun. But with this gun, it just can shoot, so many kids quicker. It's just that simple fact. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just get rid of it.
Like I said,
just one little thing among many things we do.
You can take any kind of thing. You can take a fork. You can take a knife. You can take a pencil and kill somebody with it. You know what? Right. I've been over in school one time when I was in school, and some kid, for some reason, took his pencil and stabbed me in the butt with it. In the tailbone. Let me tell you what, man. You get stabbed with a pencil, it broke that pencil.
Well, on the tailbone, that would really hurt.
That pencil lead stayed in my
butt. Because your butt's a soft target. Your butt's a soft target.
He hit me right in the
literally,
So, I don't know.
Well, I was stabbed with a pencil. Seriously, I didn't know this about you. I was stabbed with a pencil when I was in grade school, and I still had in my wrist. And I still have the mark after all these years. Okay, but let's take that, the example of a pressure cooker or a pencil or a knife. But let's take a pencil. And you could take it, stab someone in the eye, they'll lose their eye, you could kill them, right? But let's say now someone invents something that can shoot out 100 pencils at one time. Like boom, 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 I bet we'd try to get rid of that. So, because it can shoot out 100 pencils, it's just something that can shoot and kill very quickly, very quickly. There are many other guns that can kill, but these guns, there's just no. Go ahead.
Well, Momo says we can all agree that banning AR firearms is a solution. Well, All guns can kill.
Wait, I'm sorry, Al, you went out for a second. What was the what you said?
Momo said we can all agree that banning AR firearms is not the solution, right? All guns can kill. All guns can kill.
Right.
But what was the reason? Sandy Hook, Las Vegas, this one, Florida nightclub. What was the reason that they chose the AR-15? They chose the AR-15 because it's an extremely powerful weapon.
The Florida,
it's an extremely powerful weapon.
You walked in that gun store and bought pretty much any gun you want.
The AR-15 is extremely powerful, and you can buy clips from 30 to 100 rounds in it. That's why. That's why.
Yeah, why did the Vegas shooter not only use that gun?
No, it's not more powerful, Momo. But does your hunting rifle, can you shoot 30 to 100 rounds off at one time? I bet you can't. No, there's a lot of guns actually out there more powerful than the AR-15. They're illegal. But
Momo,
that's what I'm saying. Why do we
kill someone? You're not going to a gun store. No, you're hopefully in prison or dead, and buy another gun. But these deranged people, and again, we're talking about schools. We can't protect. Even with the Vegas shooting, we can't protect. We can't protect you from taking a truck down the road and killing a bunch of people, running over them. We're basically talking about our schools, because our young people are getting killed, in schools, schools. So we're basically talking about that. But this young man, should have never been able to go at 18 years old and buy a weapon. I would just like to picture the guy that sold him the gun. Here comes this 18-year-old, okay? I want to get an AR-15, and they said he had enough ammunition to shoot everybody in that school. And I want all this ammunition. I just wonder what went through that gun store owner's mind when he was selling this gun to this young person.
Well, Jeff Burnham says, do you know how hard it is to fire 30 rounds at a target and hit it? No, I don't. But you know what? If you got 30 rounds, you got a whole lot more rounds that you can.
Well, you don't need that. Wait a minute. The Vegas shooter didn't need to aim. He just sprayed. These shooters, they don't need to aim. They just take that gun back and forth and spray it.
But that's with a bump stock on it.
That's okay. Right. So let's take the Florida shooting. You don't need to aim. You just.
I'm saying, I know, I'm responding to this. You got 30 rounds or 60 rounds. I don't know how hard it is to hit a target, but you got, about, if you got a clip with 60 rounds on it, you got about 45 more rounds to try to hit that target, one after the other, than you do with a handgun with a clip on it that holds 15. Maybe you can't. But you can just keep pulling the trigger until you hit something, because you got about 45 more chances. I don't understand. I keep asking, why do we need clips that will hold that many rounds?
Well, maybe someone in
a society where that's becoming the gun of choice for people doing these mass killings. Why do we need it? People have done target practice for years that didn't have, clips that held that many. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Why do we need a clip that'll hold 30 rounds?
I don't know. I know about as little about guns.
When
it comes to guns. Okay. But I know this is, a gun that has been used for the last 5 school shootings, I think. Or not just school shootings, Vegas. Vegas. But I mean, it's used when you want to kill a bunch of people. You're not out there shooting a whole family of deer. And I don't think, someone could correct me, I don't know if you took an AR-15 to target practice, say you want to learn how to make the kill shot on a deer. I would think the MR-15 would just blow up that deer target, or that, no.
No, just no. No, I mean, it's just going to be a heavy round. No, it's just going to be.
It blows people up.
Well, because it goes
They said,
to
you know what, and you need to talk straight up like this. I think, they said that these last, the Florida shooting, that a lot of the kids could only be identified by their clothes because they had no head, and so he's just standing there spraying this powerful gun. Why didn't he take a handgun in? Because you can't shoot as many. You have to, stop, and maybe you got 10 kids that can run away while you stop again. This way, I would, you just spray them. You just take the gun and spray it at the kids, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a target.
Jeff says the AR-15 M16 has been around since the 60s. Yes, it has. But one of my points
that's terrible. That just means that nobody changed anything.
My point is now we're living in a different society where this kind of thing is happening. So maybe we need to take a look at it and ban certain weapons so at least they can't be using those that can shoot so many rounds at one time. If we lived in a perfect society,
it's not going to take care of all school shootings. Absolutely not.
If we weren't having all these mass shootings, we wouldn't be having this discussion. But now we are, and that's why I'm saying we're having more, and it's becoming the gun of choice for that reason, because they can fire off that many more rounds without stopping.
Yes.
And I don't know in a society
and
where
like I said, if we banned the AR-15 tomorrow, okay, it would not stop. And again, we're talking about school shootings. It would not stop the next school shooting. But if it stops, several people that maybe, from getting it and doing that, and with the other things that, I haven't even touched on, there's so many things. If we just layer all this together, stop the AR-15, get rid of the bump stocks. Someone please tell me one reason for those. Just one reason.
Okay, well, Momo says, let's not take away the fact that 1984 a man walked into a police station and killed 15 cops. Laughing my ass off with a pistol. We're not talking about that. But the thing is, in Japan, I believe, a guy killed 20-something people with a knife. But the thing is, if you have something out there that can do that, sure, yeah, I can.
Well, that goes back to if you get something that can shoot out sharpened pencils at 100 pencils, in 30 seconds, and you can just go in there and boom, boom, and now you can kill 100 people with your pencils. But if you just have one pencil,
you can walk in with 2 handguns and hold 15 rounds and go pow, 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 pow. Yes, you can.
Yes.
But see, somebody's still not answering my question.
We're not trying to get rid of anyone's guns. You have the right to have that handgun,
Somebody
to protect your home.
Hasn't answered my question. Why do we need a clip that holds 30 to 100 rounds? If it's for recreation or target practice or target practice, why can't you why? What I'm saying is, yes, it's our right as a gun owner. These are legal. I understand that. But if we're living in a society where this is happening,
yes, John, he did purchase this gun a year ago. The Florida shooter. He purchased it a year ago legally, absolutely legally.
Shouldn't we take a look at our society and say we have this problem going on? This is a gun of choice of mass killings. Shouldn't we take a look at it and say, you know what? Maybe, all I'm saying is, maybe we shouldn't have clips out there that'll hold 30 to 100 rounds. Maybe we ought to limit it to 15. Nobody's saying, I want to hear somebody say why we need it. Not that people want it. Why do we need it? I just
figured something out about, wait a minute, I got to tell you this. I just figured it out all by myself. Haha. It was a joke made by Momo that someone walked into a police station and killed I forget how many people. He said, that was from the Terminator movie. So he kind of got past us there, didn't he? No, again, I don't want to. No one wants to take guns away. Although if you look at countries, Canada, sure everybody's heard it, Canada, England, uh, Switzerland, all these countries, they don't have these kind of shootings. They don't have them. And it just makes us wonder why, again, we're never going to get rid of guns.
A lot of these countries, there's a strict ban on so many guns.
Right.
That, and we love this country that we have the
right. But you could, like you said, you could take 2 powerful handguns into a school and do some serious damage. Okay, we're never going to get rid of deranged, evil people that want to kill with guns, with vehicles, with knives, with box cutters. We're never going to get rid of that. My only thing is, let's start somewhere. Let's tell these parents who lost their kids. Let's tell the Sandy Hook parents who lost little first graders who were 7 years old. Okay, do you know what damage was done to a 7-year-old body? Let's tell them that as lawmakers in this country, we're going to start somewhere.
Well, I just like to say this. I'd like to say this when some of these people say, well, if you ban this gun, you're infringing on my rights. I want to know. I want that person to walk up to the parent of a child that was murdered and tell them that, because guess what? I'll bet you that kid that was killed 12 days ago, you think his rights were infringed upon? You think he got the right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? No. I don't want I'm all for gun ownership, but don't tell me that taking away a gun that has been used, that has been preferred in the last several mass shootings, and saying you're infringing upon my right.
Well, again, like the box cutter. The box cutter is no longer allowed on an airplane. Nothing is allowed on an airplane. Come on, a bottle of water isn't allowed because terrorists use that to bomb us with our own planes. But let's go back to the amendment. We have the right to free speech, right? Right? Yeah. You can go up to the president if you get close enough and call him an MFer and SOB, anything you want, right? That's your freedom of speech, right? But go into a movie theater, as the comparison is always used, go into a movie theater and start screaming fire, fire, or gun, 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 and you will get arrested. So our amendments have, in some cases have been modified. Yeah, you can cuss out our president, but you can't go into a movie theater and yell gun or fire, right? Right. You're going to go in front of a judge. So that amendment was modified, and nobody can tell me back when they had muskets, when our forefathers wrote our amendments, the right to bear arms, that they could have fathomed the AR-15. Okay, come on. Are you serious, people? Do you think our forefathers could fathom these type of assault weapons? They're assault weapons. And I learned this from you. I didn't even know that, these guns were, used in Iraq. These guns were used in war.
Well, the M16 was. The AR-15 have to be. Okay, but I mean, the M16 is an automatic weapon.
Yeah. But I mean, they were built for war, not for a man to carry a man or woman to carry it around and shoot up schools.
Jeff wrote, so it all comes down to mental health. No, it doesn't all come down to mental health.
Not all, no. But a big part of it does. Big part of it.
This is why we're having the discussion.
Like I say, today, if someone goes into a psychiatrist and tells his psychiatrist, I want to shoot up a school. I just want to, and I want to kill people, and I want to do this. That psychiatrist can't do anything with that information. So let's change it, okay? Let's keep our privacy with our doctors, but let's be able for this psychiatrist or this regular doctor or this mental health facility to be able to put it in the database. So now we know we have a mental handicapped person. And then there's evil. There's evil where it doesn't matter. No one's going to know if this man is just pure evil. Or if you haven't told a doctor or psychiatrist your thoughts, then you're not going to be in that database, so that's going to do no good. But it's a start to change the law. Like the sheriff of Parkland, Florida. He's like, even if I would have known more about this man, I arrest him. Now what do I do with him? Because we used to have mental health facilities. We used to have mental health hospitals, and they've all been closed down. So let's open some of them back. So the police that have, all the signs that this man had in Florida, and he had so many signs. We can arrest him. We can take him to a mental health facility for 30, 60, 90 days, and we can have him evaluated. And if you have the right people talking to him, they can see that this is a deranged man. And we're not going to let him out ever until we are guaranteed that he's safe. And he may never be safe. But let's keep him here. And if you had something like that in place in the Parkland shooting, it would have never taken place. But see, all his rights are protected, and we have to change that. We're a society that is so, so much on our rights. We're killing each other. We're losing our young people in schools. We're killing each other. Let's change it. Let's change those rights.
It doesn't just come down to mental health. It comes down to mental health. It comes down to...
That's a big part of it.
It comes down to looking at the gun laws. It comes down to, better background checks. Secure our school buildings. All of these things. This is why we're having this discussion, because you know what? I might be wrong about everything I say, or someone may not be. I don't think there's any wrong or right answer. I might be wrong in someone's opinion what I say, but you know what? Somebody might say something that, triggers something in somebody's head that might say, I never thought of it that way, or I never had that idea. But something, I think people are just so angry.
Why did we change things with the airlines? Why, after 9/11, why were things changed? Your right to get on a plane without being searched, and your luggage searched, and your shoes searched, and your underwear searched, and your mother in a wheelchair, 92 years old, searched. Everything searched. That changed, didn't it? That changed. And now you can't get on. Well, but still.
Yeah, we won't go there.
we can go there, but, because I always ask you this question.
I tell you what.
Wait a minute. I'm going to ask the people out there. If you're sitting in an airport, and it was 4 Mid-Eastern men in each plane, so we have to go there, and you can get on this plane, but there's like 4 or 5 Middle Eastern men sitting there, okay, and there's no search on anybody. You can walk on that plane, whatever baggage you want, or you can walk on this plane where you have to go through all the searches, right? Which plane are you going to get on? And answer
I don't know. Where I live, if you get on a plane, half the people are Middle Eastern, which is fine with me. But I'm just
okay. Then let me say that half the plane is, and that's
I'm just saying that this is a society
that did 9/11. So which plane would you get on? Would you get on the one that everyone is searched?
Well, you and I have had these arguments over, plane security and stuff. But I mean, they've had security on planes for years. I mean, when I was a kid, I had to walk through a metal detector, or maybe a teenager at that point. They had metal. They didn't have it to the point they do now. But I used to always make the joke. When you had the shoe bomber and all this stuff. Now you got to take off your shoes. If a woman put a bomb in their bra, or, you did have the underwear bomber, I'm surprised they're not making you, strip down naked. I mean, I think some of this stuff goes a little too far. Oh, you can't bring something that's so many ounces because they can have liquid explosives. I heard where some of these terrorist countries were, they were experimenting with putting, some type of liquid explosive and women that were like breast implants as suicide bombers. I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I don't really know what the answer is. Yeah, I mean, security got better. My father worked for the airlines for 48 years, and I flew a lot when I was young. And I remember getting on those planes, and when my brother loved planes, and you get on the plane, and the pilot would take you up, and he'd take you up and show you the cockpit and all this stuff. And my dad even then used to say, my God, they make these doors for the pilot like out of this paper thin, lightweight, metal that, you could put your fist through it. And yeah, after 9/11, then they secured the doors. He used to say they needed security.
Yeah, your dad had that idea.
Oh yeah, this is the pilot of the plane, And yeah, a lot of that stuff is good. I think just with some of the stuff, I don't know, it just goes, a little too far. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, I think if we went a little too far after Sandy Hook and did some of these things that we're suggesting, making our school less of a soft target, putting metal doors, like I said, the school where I used to live a few years ago, all their doors were big metal doors. You weren't getting in them. There wasn't even a handle to pull except from the inside. And then the front was protected by, glass, that bulletproof glass. So that school is very protected. If we'd have done that, if we'd have started with the mental health problem, with the gun problem, a lot of things after Sandy Hook, 20 years ago, would we have had that shooting in Parkland, Florida? Maybe not. So I'm just saying, what is too much? If you can protect lives, what is too much?
I don't know.
I mean, they had a solution to 9/11, pretty much. I mean, when you think that these planes, went into the Twin Towers, went down the Pentagon, went down in Pennsylvania over box cutters, okay? Mm-hmm. That may have even killed one person, but that plane could have overtaken them men with their box cutters. But they've never experienced that before. Do you think a plane would ever be taken down today with a box cutter? No. Nobody's going to allow that. Okay.
No, I don't think anybody today is, no. That plane may go down, but it's going to be like Pennsylvania. I don't think anybody today is going to let. I don't think people come on there with guns.
They modified the rules to get on a plane to save lives. You can't do that everywhere. You can't protect every mall, every street, every parade, every marathon, every movie theater. You just can't. It's impossible. But you can do things to modify things to change, to make our schools safer. And it's not just one thing. It's many, many, many things.
Chris Johnson said a plane never hit the Pentagon. Just saying. Yeah, we could go there too, because there's a lot of I'd have to sort of agree there with you, Chris.
Doesn't believe that.
I
believe it did, but don't get off started, because he believed a plane hit it either.
Yeah, all you gotta do is look at some of the original pictures of the Pentagon, and there in any way a plane that size made a hole that small.
See, you got him started. You got Al started. No,
you look at the only footage, one of the most fortified buildings in the country, more cameras than any building in the country, and all they got is this one picture, this one video of a little street going across it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, we can do. We'll have to. Yeah. If people want to go on the chat or make comments. And they seriously, if they want to do a show, if they want to do a show on 9/11, what people think really happened, let's do that. These are things that we need to, as Americans, we need to talk about it, because how many things are done or kept covered up that we're not. Are we being told the truth? Are we being told the truth? Anybody want to talk about JFK? Let's talk about JFK. It's been 50 years. We haven't gotten a.
Got you started, didn't they? Got you started.
Yeah, don't get me started on some of this.
Don't get him started. Don't get him started.
don't get me started on what people are seeing flying in the skies. I mean,
I have you, and I have a son.
I'm just saying, you know, I mean, you know, does the government cover up what we're seeing flying in the skies? I don't know. I'm just saying.
I know you just.
There's a lot of things.
But you know, seriously though, no matter what you believe, like they did hit the Twin Towers. We'll agree on that, right?
Right.
Was two planes, jets. Okay, but see, they changed things. They changed things, you know. And no, you can't carry a little bottle of shampoo on the plane because it might be some kind of poison you throw in someone's face. I guess I don't know, but they changed things, and that's what we're saying about the schools. We can't change it all, but let's just do these things, and hopefully, you know, like everyone always says, if it saves one person's life, you know, if it would have stopped this Parkland shooting, oh wow, you think those parents wouldn't have, you know, loved to see that? If we'd have started with Sandy Hook, or you know, with these little first graders getting killed.
Yeah, it was this horrible thing, and we talked about gun control. The problem was the conversation didn't keep going.
No, and it's going to now. So NRA, look out. NRA, look.
The conversation has to keep going and going and going until the people of this country.
Because you know what else? You want to get me started?
What is best.
Get me started? No, let me get me started with the NRA. Because now, Mr. NRA, now, if you know, it's going to become now, if you take money, Marco Rubio, from the NRA, we're going to vote you out of office. So it's up to you. You take your NRA money, or you know, and you lose your seat. It's going to become like that now because the power is in the people, and the power comes from voting you out. And so, you know, the NRA is never think like they're about to have.
No,
you know, and again, we're not trying to take away the Second Amendment. Even if you wanted to, you can't.
Well, and you're gonna have the people.
But
you know,
they're in for a battle now.
You're gonna have the people, all the million. I don't know how many members of the NRA that are gonna be fighting for the NRA, and you're gonna have the people that don't like some of the things. But we have to keep a discussion going. And we have to.
Then why doesn't? And I'm not asking you directly. Why doesn't want to discuss it? Shouldn't have they just jumped out and said, you know what? Let's start with bump stocks. Okay, we'll give you that. Let's get rid of bump. They won't even want to get rid of bump stocks. Okay, so they don't want to talk. The NRA knows darn well that nobody, no politician, no person wants to get rid of your Second Amendment. Everyone, they know that, but they just won't even. They won't even like begin to talk about it, and that's what I think more people. No, you take their money like so many politicians do. You take their money, and you will get voted out of office. Because when it comes to killing my child, killing my grandchild, or killing my husband and wife that's a teacher, it isn't about politics anymore. It's about, what? No one else is going to die when they don't have to. So you don't even want to talk to us about it? Come on. They don't even want to discuss it. You know where the NRA goes? Mental. Everything's mental. Well, there are mentally deranged people, definitely. And there's also evil people. So you're not going to catch those evil people because they're not going to be in the system as being mental. They're just pure evil.
Well, I
don't hear anything mental about the Vegas shooter. In fact, he seemed by all accounts a very intelligent, together man before that day.
He
wasn't mental. He was evil. No, I'm just saying, it isn't all about evil.
Jeff wrote, didn't the NRA agree to a bump stock ban after Vegas? I don't know. I don't know. I don't honestly know.
No, did they agree to it? No, the NRA? No, they won't agree to it now. They won't even agree to say the words. Let's start with the bump stocks. No, stock. They won't even say that. It's all mental. It's the NRA says, you put a gun in a deranged person's hands and you got trouble. Well, yeah, in a lot of cases, yeah, you do. You got trouble if they want to use a knife. But let's start somewhere. They don't. The NRA does not want to go for more in-depth background checks. They do not want to go for longer waiting period because see that all affects their
Momo writes the National Rifle Association calling on the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives to immediately review whether these devices comply with federal law. The NRA believes that devices designed to allow semi-automatic rifles to function like fully automatic rifles should be subject to additional regulations. I don't know that much about the NRA.
Just reading that was complicated. You know why? Because the NRA, let's investigate to see this. Let's investigate to see that. We don't want to hear that nonsense. We don't want investigating.
I don't know enough about the NRA.
Get rid of your bump stocks. There you go. Get rid of your AR-15s. There you go. And then we'll take the next step and the next step and the next step.
I don't know enough about the NRA to make an argument on the NRA.
Well, I'm not an expert on the NRA, but they put their stuff out there every time something like this happens, and they blame it.
I only know that there's a lot of unnecessary kids being killed in a place where they should feel safe.
If there is a pill on the market, if there is a prescription pill that goes on the market, quit sighing at me. I hear you. I hear you.
I'm trying.
I hear you. No, but I'm so passionate about all this. I'm so passionate.
You are. I know.
And I know you are. And I
admire you being passionate.
But let's take a pill. Okay, a prescription pill. Okay, there's diabetic pills. Okay, let's take a diabetic pill. Okay, it kills one person. One. And they take it off the market.
Yeah, but you can't really use that as an argument.
Well, I'm just saying.
Because all guns kill. It's just that some can kill, I believe, quicker than others.
But I mean, why won't they just say these AR-15s, yeah, let's just take them. There's so many other guns out there for your protection, for your target practice, for your collection. And now, like you said earlier, this seems to be the gun of choice. Okay, let's just start there. I'll work as the NRA. I would work with you, parents. I'll work with you. You're right. We don't need the bump stocks. We don't need the AR.
And you know what? When they get rid of the bump stocks, if they do, somebody's going to come up with something else. Somebody always comes up with a way. There's a lot of smart people out there that come up with a way to do something else. And they'll do it in a way that's like, well, we got around this law.
Wait, though. Why? I agree. But why enforce law? Let's just don't enforce any laws.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, yeah, they might get rid of the bump stocks, but you know what? Something else. They'll get around the laws somehow.
Well,
I think that we have to look. I think that we have to look.
The bump stocks, and you get something else up the road that makes it even, shoot out more, even faster and more. Now you have two things you have to get rid of. So again, if we just get rid of the bump stocks, then if someone comes up with something else, then
I think that we're looking at all these gun laws, and that's what I'm saying. We have to keep the discussion going. It's not one answer. There's so many different things involved in this, but we keep looking at the gun laws and looking at the bump stocks and like I was saying, why do we need clips that hold this many things? But we also have to look at why is this increasing? Why is it? What is all of? Why are there so many kids, that are going into schools and shooting up their classmates? It's increasing. Why? We have to look at that. We have to take a really hard look at that. It's like the drug epidemic. Oh, well, we're going to ban this. We're going to ban this prescription drug. We're going to ban that. We're going to limit this. We have to look at why it's happening. Instead of just saying we have a problem, we have to start getting rid of everything. We have to start looking at why is it happening. Nobody wants to look at that. You know, I mean, nobody wants to look at that. Has anybody figured out why there are so many kids that are going to school shooting up kids? I don't care if you're using an AR-15, if you're using a handgun. Why is it happening more and more frequently?
Part of this comes in. That's where, that's where teachers and
so you're
have to turn this stuff in. And wait, I know they say the FBI, they failed on this one because they were told about their student. Okay, that can never happen again. And not only that, there has to be something. Right now, if you put on social media, all your gun collections and I just have a need to kill someone. I have a need to shoot up a school. The police can come and talk to you. The FBI can come and talk to you.
Sure.
But what can they do? You haven't done anything yet. Let's change that law.
Right.
Really? You're going. Let's do that. That we can talk to you. We can put you in a mental facility and check you out. See, now we can't.
We have to. But we say, that I say, we have to look at why and why so many more, young people are doing this. Are young people having more mental problems than before? I don't know. And then you find out a lot of these people, they're on these, antidepressant drugs and things like that. Is it that they're prescribing medicine that is causing people to be more violent? I don't know, but there's a reason why that all of a sudden this is happening more in our society. Is anybody looking at that?
No, and that is a big problem. That does deal with the mental problem here.
Yeah, it does deal with a mental problem.
Until we change the law to say we don't have to protect this person's rights, only when it comes to, that you're putting on your social media and you're telling other people that you want to kill, that you want. I mean, this young man actually told people he wanted to shoot a school. His words were, "I want to be the most famous school shooter ever."
Yeah, no, they failed in this one.
Okay, that should be enough for the authorities to put you in a mental facility and have you thoroughly checked out. Today, you can't do it because you know what? You haven't shot anybody yet. And it's your freedom to say, that you'd like to do that. We have to stop that. You have to be able to send the FBI there, take that man into custody, and put him in a mental facility because your quote, normal person is not going to put on social media and tell other people that they want to see people lead and they want to be the most famous school shooter ever. Okay, that right there is a big red flag. And right now, the authorities, their hands are tied because he hasn't committed a crime yet. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and then,
that's really bigger than the guns because
social media,
any gun and shoot somebody.
Social media has changed a lot of things. We have the freedom of speech and we have the freedom of press. But then, now if somebody types something on, Facebook or some social media site, now do they still have the freedom of press if something, you know what I'm saying now? But my point is that because of social media, we're going to have to look at social media and say, we didn't used to have social media, And so we can't just always say, we have the right to do this and the right to do that when things in our society change.
Like I said, you have the right to free speech, but you will be in front of a judge if you go into a theater and scream fire or gun or whatever. No, you can't do it. And I like to say to Chris Johnson, did you know that the Columbine shooting made all trench coats banned in schools? I do know that, Chris, because my oldest son was in high school at the time, and the long leather trench coats were very popular, and him and his best friend had one, and I just spent several $100s on this nice long trench coat, and right after Columbine he was not allowed to wear that to school anymore. So see, they took away his I can't wear a coat of my choice to school. What do you mean? But he wasn't allowed because now you can hide those rifles and stuff in those. So see, they changed something. You want to, even though I'm not near Columbine, I'm in a whole different state. My son was no longer allowed to wear his trench coats in this state. So, yeah, they changed something. And did they save a life? Hopefully, yeah.
I would be curious to know. I would also like, I don't know because I don't have any kids in schools or high schools or anything like that.
Well, I don't anymore.
I would be curious to know, like something like Columbine after that happened. I would be really curious to know, like, how did they change? Did they change certain layouts of the school? Did they change how you get into the school? Things like that. Did they? I'm sure they secured the school more, but yeah, we have to take a look at every one of these, and we have to say, what are we learning from it? How do we secure this school better so that somebody doesn't walk in from the outside? And you got so many of these kids. You and I talked about this. You have like when you get on an airplane, you've got the X-ray machine, and I don't. If they walk through metal detectors, you've got another problem with that because most kids have a belt on, and you have to take that belt off like you do in an airport or whatever. And all these kids carry backpacks, and so if they're going to have metal detectors or X-ray machines, you got 3,000 or 5,000 kids, going through this whole process. You're never going to get in school. Those kids are going to have to get at school at 5 o'clock in the morning to get the kids in the school by 8 o'clock.
So, and see, I was all for that at first. I'm like, oh yeah, metal detectors, until you brought that point up to me one day. This school had 3,000 students. There's schools in your area.
The metal detectors, you could walk through it, and like I said, you're gonna most of these kids, you're gonna have to take your belt off or put your keys. If the kids do have a key, you're gonna have to put them in something because it's gonna set that off. But you can basically just walk through a metal detector. But if you have to start setting everything on a conveyor belt, and they have to set all that, it's going to take hours to get all these kids through.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if something like that's what I'm saying. We have to keep the discussion going.
Right.
I don't know what
we have to, and I think that these young people will. And Chris Johnson said when I was in school, all of the doors were locked from the inside except the front door.
Right.
LOL. Well, you know what, Chris? When my kids were in high school, they're all grown up now. I volunteered a lot when they were in grade school. And not only the front door was open, so I'm talking 25 to 30 years ago. Not only was the front door open, every door was open. Every door. I mean, they would prop open doors on a warm day.
They did that. They did that when I was in school. When I was in school, high school. Oh, on a nice day, you'd go through the high school. And the front doors, the side doors sometimes would be propped open, get a nice day, fresh air in there. And, but see, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember mass shootings when I was in high school.
No, I don't either. I really don't. I mean, there were definitely
murders. Why is it happening? I mean, why don't we keep asking why?
Was Columbine kind of the first? That's like the first shooting.
That was one of the big ones.
Because seriously, that gives everybody ideas, I want to be notorious for this,
There were probably school shootings before that, but that one was, a mass shooting, and it certainly put Columbine on.
Just like the Vegas shooter. The first thing you and I talked about is someone else gonna, copycat the Vegas shooter now from a hotel room, and but like you say, we can't police the whole country. We just can't. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Like that was.
Momo wrote July 26, 1974, first school shooting in the U.S.
Does it say how many? Does it happen to say how many though? Like, was just somebody went in and shot somebody, or was it? Well, in 1974, they wouldn't have had the assault weapons they have today. I don't think.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're all you're gonna.
Yeah, was that was that someone walking in and shooting? Because sometimes you have a student even today that walks in.
A schoolmaster and nine children.
Oh, I love it when they put schoolmaster. That kind of ages, doesn't it? 1974, schoolmaster. I guess I'd be the principal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's 10 people.
Yep.
I wonder what weapon he used. Just curious. In '74. That's 42 years ago. No, I mean, there's always been, just like you hear a lot today of all these young people. Are they crazy? Are they on wild drugs? Well, I heard that. I grew up as a teenager in the '70s, and that's what adults were saying when I was a teenager. All these people on drugs and all this. So we just have more of it now, and
Wait
we
a
have.
minute. Well, right. Oh, wait. I got the date wrong. 1764.
Oh well, I can't.
That's why it was called Schoolmaster.
Well, wait. Let me see. I was a
1764?
child then, so no. I wasn't alive then. No. But no, how you and I talk about sometimes. What is things like they're happening. Things are happening. Crazy things and more murders and.
Well, yeah. I mean, is it because
I think you have all your 24-hour news channels, so we hear about it more. You have your social media, so we hear about it more.
We have more people,
but we have more people.
But this school shootings is on. I just believe it's on a rise, and I don't know why.
Something will change though. This time
though. In 1764, they said that was the entire school. Wow, only 2 survived, but I'll bet that shooter walked 3 miles each way uphill in the snow to get there.
I bet it was a musket or something.
That's what I always heard from my dad. And my dad was raised in Georgia, and he had to walk 3 miles each way to school. And I used to say, yeah, whatever. And when we went down to Georgia's kids one time, I said, hey, Dad, can you show us where you went to school? Of course, the schoolhouse wasn't there anymore, but sure enough, it was 3.5 miles. He walked 3.5 miles each way to school.
Well, and there's a perfect point too. And then that 1774, that was the whole school. The schoolmaster, that would probably been the teacher, and 9 students. That's little one room. Today, everything's bigger, more people.
That's true, Momo. The first memorable school shooting was done by the National Guard at Kent State. Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, yeah, more or less. It's kind of illegal. It was illegal.
Oh no, come on. They just fire.
Well, so be it. That what's been said is that the National Guard, who were very, very young men, they heard a noise, and so they were going up the hill at Kent State, and they were actually leaving, and they heard a noise, what they thought was a bullet, a gunfire, may have been, and they just turned around and started just shooting, because they were young, scared young men, and no one was shooting at them. It's just they became very afraid, and so they turned around and they just started shooting down the hill. That's what I heard.
I mean, the whole thing is sad. I never will understand the mindset of people that get so angry. They don't want to take out the person that made them angry. They just want to take out people randomly. I don't understand that mindset, but I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Maybe they can learn something. Maybe they can. Most of these people end up killing themselves. But in Sandy Hook, in Columbine, in Vegas, all this stuff. But maybe they can learn something from this guy.
Well, and not only that, we give a lot of due praise to teachers, right? But with all the bullying that goes on in schools, come on, you don't think teachers in a lot of these cases see it? And here's another thing.
You broke up. The bullying these teachers, I didn't.
Okay, the teachers deserve a lot of credit. Okay, but at the same time, how many bullying do they see go on? And when a child goes to tell the teacher, what does the teacher in a lot of cases say, especially the younger kids? Don't be tattletales. Don't be tattletales. Don't be tattletales. What I'm saying is, how many teachers see this bullying go on and nothing is done about it. There's a red flag too. Not that this kid may do anything, but what if, he's bullied to the point. Imagine the Columbine, two young men. They say they were bullied a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And this Florida shooter, I mean, there was some, I forget who it was earlier, said, he resembled the elf. I know he's trying to be, funny. But yeah, he was an odd looking character. And so he may have been bullied a lot. And I think they said he was. So sometimes that's a red flag. And I think teachers, they don't want to get involved. So they just let it, they blow it off and tell the kid, don't be a tattletale when they're telling on the bully, or when they see the bully. Teachers should get some kind of authority to turn this kind of stuff into someone, just so that kid is just watched a little bit more, or they should make sure the bullying in their presence doesn't go on. Bullying will not be tolerated. And I just think that, I know when I volunteered at the school when my sons were little, I seen that a lot from teachers. There'd be a child telling on somebody that's picking on them, and they'd be like, oh, don't be a tattletale. Don't be a tattletale. Well,
that's another big thing. And I think that people bullying now, that's something else that, there's just so many things involved in this.
Well, they're bullied on social media. And when you're,
I'm sure they are.
To someone like you and I, you'll get bullied, whatever. But to a young person, in high school or younger, that really affects them. They're being bullied online.
I was bullied in elementary school because of something that I had wrong with me. Yeah. And so, I'm sure it affected me. But when you're in high school,
but it didn't make you want to kill.
No, but in high school, and come on, let's face it, in high school, how you come across to the other students, that's one of the most important things to somebody that age, is like, are you in the popular group? Are you in the not popular group? What are you wearing today? What kind of, whatever, everything matters how you're seen by the other people when you're in high school. If you've got the cool car, you're the popular kid. Everything matters. As we get older and more mature, we realize, that doesn't matter. But when you're in high school, how every kid sees you and how, what they think of you matters tremendously.
Right. Exactly. Big time. Yeah. The younger you are, the more it affects you. Okay. Well, we went a little past our time, but it was a great discussion. We're passionate. We can see other people are passionate about it. And as I always say,
going.
You got to keep it. As I always say, during the week, if you want to comment, if something, we'll see the comments. And if you want to talk more about it, there's so much to talk about, But anyway, we thank everybody.
And let's not forget, there's still JFK, 9/11, UFO.
Oh, yeah.
There's other conspiracy.
And that will be interesting because you and I disagree on it. So, tonight's subjects we agree, but that is something we disagree on. Is the 9/11 conspiracy and Bigfoot and UFOs.
All these things.
Thanks everybody for your comments and views, and I hope you join us next Monday, 6:00. And if you want to comment during the week, feel free to do so.
And a shout out to all the USA Olympiads that won gold medals and participated. Just give a shout out. We're proud of you.
Best of the best. Yep.
That's right. So anyway, till next week, everybody have a good week, and we'll see you.
Have a great week. Okay. See you next Monday.
All right, 6:00.
All right.
Bye.